2007, 50 Cent cashed a single check for over $100 million. 8 years later, he stood in a courtroom and declared bankruptcy. Today, he runs a television empire and he's worth 9 figures again. This is how Curtis Jackson made a fortune, lost almost all of it, and built it back even bigger. Every dollar, every deal, every disaster. It started in South Jamaica, Queens, one of the toughest corners of New York City. Curtis Jackson was raised by a single mother who sold drugs and lost her when he was just 8 years old. By his teens, he was in the streets himself, but he had a gift for words and a hunger that scared people. On May 24th, 2000, that hunger almost ended. He was shot 9 times at close range outside his grandmother's house, including a round that went through his jaw. He survived, and he came back meaner. He turned that survival into a weapon. He flooded the streets with raw, fearless mixtapes, picking fights with bigger artists on records like How to Rob. The buzz got so loud it reached Eminem, who called it the best thing he'd heard in years. Eminem and Dr. Dre signed him to a joint deal, backing the unknown rapper with a historic $1 million advance. For a kid from Queens who'd been left for dead, it was the beginning of everything. In February 2003, Get Rich or Die Tryin exploded onto the charts. 872,000 copies sold in its first week alone. It rocketed to #1, stayed there for 9 straight weeks, and went on to sell more than 12 million copies worldwide. It remains one of the best-selling debut albums in rap history. The single that did it, In the Club, was everywhere, a song you could not escape in 2003. His face went up on billboards across New York. Almost overnight, 50 Cent was the biggest new star in the world, and he understood something most artists didn't. A villain sells. His war with Ja Rule and Murder Inc. dominated hip-hop for years, and 50 attacked so relentlessly that he helped drive an entire rival label out of business. He moved fast to own his moment. He launched G-Unit Records, signing his childhood friends Lloyd Banks and Tony Yayo, along with Young Buck and, for a time, The Game. Their group album Beg for Mercy sold over 2.5 million copies. For a couple of years, G-Unit wasn't just a crew, it was the most powerful brand in hip-hop. Then came the merchandise machine. He turned G-Unit into a lifestyle. His sneakers with Reebok reportedly outsold Jay-Z's line 6-1 and became one of the best-selling celebrity shoes of the era. There was G-Unit clothing, a bulletproof video game that put his face in living rooms worldwide, even a line of books. Every piece printed money. In 2005, he proved the debut was no accident. The Massacre sold over 1 million copies in its very first week and went straight to #1. Stack the sold-out world tours on top, where he was clearing up to $500,000 a night, and 50 Cent was, for a moment, the highest-earning man in all of hip-hop. But that same year, the empire took its first internal hit. He and The Game fell out in a public, ugly split that fractured G-Unit. The crew that conquered hip-hop had started to crack from the inside. 50 just pushed harder into new lanes. He crossed into Hollywood, starring in a film about his own life. Get Rich or Die Tryin cost $40 million to make, grossed $46 million at the box office, and paid him a $500,000 salary. More roles followed over the years, in action films like Den of Thieves. But the single move that would define his entire fortune had nothing to do with a stage, a screen, or a microphone. Years earlier, a businessman had offered him cash to promote a struggling little sports drink. 50 did what almost no artist did at the time. He turned down the check and asked for equity instead, a piece of the company. The company was Glasso, the maker of vitamin water. 50 didn't just lend his name, he became the face of the brand, put it in his music videos, and helped sales explode from around $100 million a year to more than $700 million. Then, in May 2007, Coca-Cola bought Glasso outright for $4.1 billion. 50 Cent's stake paid him an estimated $100 million before taxes, and around $60 million after. In one transaction, a bottle of flavored water made him more money than his entire music career combined. It was the single greatest business decision of his life. At his peak, 50 Cent was reportedly worth more than $260 million. He bought the cars, the jewelry, and a mansion that would later become infamous. He purchased a 50,000 square foot Connecticut estate, once owned by Mike Tyson, with 21 bedrooms and its own nightclub. The upkeep alone reportedly ran tens of thousands of dollars every single month. But success bred enemies and bad habits. The same year as that giant payday, he released Curtis and ran straight into a wall named Kanye West. The two dropped albums on the very same day, in a chart showdown the whole world watched. Kanye's Graduation took the week with 957,000 copies. Curtis came in second at 691,000. It was the first crack in the armor. Still, the money kept branching out. There was SMS Audio, his premium headphone brand, built to take on Beats by Dre. There was a stake in Effin' Vodka, which he would later cash out for a reported $60 million. And there was Branson Cognac, his own spirits brand. On paper, in the early 2010s, 50 Cent looked completely untouchable, but the cracks were spreading fast. In 2012, he launched a boxing promotion company with his friend Floyd Mayweather, sank around $2 million of his own money into it, and watched the partnership collapse within months. The music had cooled too. His album Before I Self-Destruct had moved just 160,000 copies in its first week. The hit machine that built the empire was slowing down. Then the lawsuits came. A court ordered him to pay $7 million over a leaked private video, $5 million in damages, plus $2 million more in punitive damages. Bad investments, a fractured label, mounting legal bills, and a lifestyle built for a man earning $100 million a year all collided at once. The money going out was finally bigger than the money coming in. In 2014, he released Animal Ambition as an independent artist. It sold just 46,000 units in its first week, but it made history as one of the first major albums you could buy with Bitcoin. And in a strange twist, that experiment may have quietly saved him millions. 50 reportedly held on to some of that cryptocurrency and almost forgot about it, only to discover years later it had grown into a multi-million-dollar surprise. But in a moment, the walls were closing in, and on July 13, 2015, it finally happened. In a federal courthouse in Connecticut, the man who had earned over $300 million filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. His listed debt was staggering: $32,509,549.91. Against it, only about $20 million in assets. The richest rapper of his era was on paper broke. Here's what most people don't understand about that moment. For 50 Cent, it wasn't surrender, it was strategy. Chapter 11 isn't liquidation, it's a restructuring, a legal reset. Over the next 2 years, he paid back about $22 million of that debt, and the rest was discharged. He covered it with $8.7 million of his own money and a $13.65 million settlement he won from his former lawyers. He paid the entire plan off years ahead of schedule. By 2017, 50 Cent walked out of bankruptcy a completely free man, his future earnings protected. And the engine of his comeback had been quietly building the whole time he was falling. Back in 2014, he had co-created a television show for the Starz network called Power. He believed in it so much that he agreed to act in it and executive produce it for just $17,000 an episode. Almost nothing, just to get his foot in the door. It was the smartest bet of his second act. Power became a juggernaut, one of the most watched shows on all of cable television, second only to The Walking Dead in its prime. Then 50 did what he always does. He turned one hit into an entire universe. Power Book 2, Ghost. Power Book 3, Raising Canaan. Power Book 4, Force. He used that massive loyal audience as leverage and signed a historic 4-year, $150 million production deal with Starz. 50 Cent wasn't a rapper trying to act anymore. He was a full-blown television mogul with his own studio empire, even opening a major production hub in Shreveport, Louisiana. He kept stacking wins. BMF, Black Mafia Family, became another hit series. The courtroom drama for life. a whole content factory running under the G-Unit name. He also became a kingmaker for the next generation, executive producing Pop Smoke's posthumous debut, which debuted at #1, and famously refusing to take a single dollar for the work. He wrote best-selling books on power and hustle. He launched new liquor brands, and in 2023, his Final Lap World Tour grossed millions more, proving the music name still printed cash decades later. By the time the dust settled, 50 Cent had done the impossible, not once, but twice. He got rich. He lost almost all of it. And then he got rich all over again, his net worth climbing back toward $100 million. So what is the real lesson of every dollar 50 Cent made and lost? It's simple, and it's the same secret he learned in a Glasso boardroom 20 years ago. He never got truly rich from rapping. He got rich the one time he stopped taking the check and demanded ownership instead. The water taught him that lesson. The bankruptcy almost made him forget it, and the comeback proved he never really did. If this story hit you, stick around, because the next one is even crazier.